Hello, you are watching India Today Global. I am Pranay Upadhyay, and a big announcement has come from the Tibetan spiritual leader, His Holiness Dalai Lama. He has decided that his reincarnation will be decided by Gadain Phodrang Foundation, which he himself has founded, and has made it clarified that his reincarnation, his successor, 15th Dalai Lama, will be selected by this foundation, and no other entity will have any say in this regard. We will try and understand what does it entail, what does it mean to have this statement coming from Dalai Lama. I am being joined by former ambassador of India, Pavan K, Varma, and also a former parliamentarian. He understands this issue very well. Welcome to India Today Global, Pavan Varma ji.
Thank you. Great pleasure.
Thank you very much, sir, for your time. And please help us understand. This statement has come at a time when Dalai Lama is, will be celebrating his birthday on Sunday. A lot of people will be gathering in Dharamshala. But what made him, to give this statement and say that the Gadain Phodrang Foundation is going to decide the next reincarnation, will decide the next Dalai Lama? What are the political and strategic implications of this statement?
To my mind, they are very clear and they are threefold. Firstly, the Dalai Lama, by making this statement on the eve of his 90th birthday, which will be on Sunday, the 6th of July, has once and for all put to rest any doubts on whether the institution of the Dalai Lama will continue or not. You will recall that on some occasions there were the questions as to whether after him the institution of the Dalai Lama, which is centuries old, as you know, the current Dalai Lama is the 14th Dalai Lama and has been going on for centuries. So first he has clarified that yes, the institution will continue. Secondly, he has made it clear that this will be an internal decision of the council that he heads, because since 1959, when the Dalai Lama fled China as a result of Chinese oppression, there has been a government in exile in Dharamsala, of which the Dalai Lama is the head. And he has made it clear that it will be an internal decision in consultation with other prominent Tibetan Buddhist leaders. Thirdly, he has sent a clear and straightforward message to China that whatever illusions it may have of playing a role on naming the Dalai Lama's successor do not have legitimacy. So, it is in a way a clear rebuff to China and once again an assertion of the identity of Tibet as a separate entity. And in my view, it's illegal occupation by China.
Very important and a significant point, Ambassador Varma. But you know that China not only controls the Tibetan territory and calling it Tibet Autonomous Region, but they also want to control the faith there, the Tibetan faith there. And we know that in 2007 they brought in the management measures for the reincarnation of the living Buddha. We know that how Panchen Lama was instituted by the Chinese authority. Why China want to control the belief and faith in Tibetan region?
I have not for a moment any doubt about China's intention. What I want to stress is that whatever actions or decisions it makes in this regard, what will be the legitimacy of that decision for the Tibetans, both within China and those who are outside now? Not only in India but globally. In my view, the legitimacy of any Chinese choice of successor will be a nullity next to a zero, because the Dalai Lama is globally recognized to be the head of the Tibetan uh, people and its government in exile. And by tradition, it is the Dalai Lama himself who, through the divine powers that the Tibetan believes he has, who chooses a successor. So any attempt by China, and the Dalai Lama has made clear that his successor will not be from within China.
Absolutely. I wanted to come to this point, Ambassador Varma, that Dalai Lama has made it clear that his successor will be born in a free country, not in China, outside China. It could be India, it could be any other part of the world, but it has to be free world. And this statement, how does it challenge the authority which Beijing want to assert and authority which Beijing want to claim?
You see, the Chinese have imposed a military authority in Tibet. They have not as yet managed to capture the soul of Tibet. I have been ambassador in Bhutan.
Yes.
I know the region well. The Tibetan culture and civilization is a remarkably evolved and ancient culture and civilization. And again, in my view, Tibet's autonomy should have been strongly supported by us, and Chinese usurpation of it should have been challenged. However, even if that was not done, the Dalai Lama managed to escape with as many as 10,000 followers with him, and has since been a visible continuity of Tibetan tradition in exile. Now, the person whom he chooses as his successor will be the only person who has the legitimacy to take up his mantle after him. When he speaks about a free country, there can be no doubt that China internally is a totalitarian polity which does not allow for dissent and freedom, and that it is a highly controlled society. So when the Dalai Lama says that from a free country and says it would be outside China, frankly, the two are synonymous.
True. But Master Varma, may God give a very long life to Dalai Lama, and he also feels that he has much life to live. Maybe this question may sound hypothetical, but if you see, if China asserts, what will happen if there will be two rival Dalai Lamas, one appointed by China and another selected with the will and wish of Dalai Lama, 14th Dalai Lama? How will it going to impact the identity politics of Tibet, and how it is going to affect the wish and will of Tibetan people for the freedom?
You see, the Chinese will make a fool of themselves because they will persist in the kind of unilaterally imperialist policies they have followed, in holding up a stooge whom they have nominated, whereas I have not the slightest doubt that the mantle of legitimacy will be on the successor the current Dalai Lama in exile chooses, both for Tibetans within China and those who are in India and outside in the world. By now, it's a very large diaspora. So therefore, the Chinese can do their own little tricks. And frankly, India should be more assertive in the matter. I mean, after all, China makes its repeated claims on Arunachal Pradesh as South Tibet. At one time, if you recall, Pranay,
yes,
they had said that citizens of Arunachal Pradesh will get stapled visas.
Yes, sir, I remember that.
In my view, our response should have been clear. Our response should have been, firstly, that this is completely unwarranted. And secondly, that in response we will provide staple visas to Chinese of Tibetan origin. Because in my view, we can never fully accept, even though we may have done it as part of real politics, we cannot fully accept China's uh, uh, claim on actually capturing the spirit of the Tibetan people only on the basis of military superiority. Old cultures and civilizations cannot be dominated, suppressed, or eliminated in this way.
You have been, talking about this issue for quite some time, sir, that India should rethink the policies towards Tibet, and especially recognizing the will and wish of Tibetan people. But given the situation at a time when we are also having Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which is in the Tibet region. We have spiritual and civilization linkages with that area. But if the Dalai Lama controversy pans out, so far we have considered Dalai Lama as a spiritual religious leader. But do you think that the political intervention can solve this issue or complicate this issue? How do you see India's role, more proactive stand?
I ask you a simple question. China says that it wants to strengthen its relationship with India. Has the fact that it constantly makes claims to Arunachal Pradesh deterred China in spite of this intent? No. China pursues a policy which it believes serves its interest, even if it's both factually, ethically, and diplomatically incorrect. I don't think we should emulate China in every respect, but on some issues, we must show a greater backbone. And as far as Tibet is concerned, we may have recognized the Dalai Lama as a spiritual leader, which he is, and recognized so globally. But the Chinese consider him a separatist.
Yes.
As someone who is inimical to the Chinese. Now, you tell me, if China can have the temerity of making a claim to Arunachal Pradesh and sending a note verbal every time any leader within the government of India of a certain level visits Arunachal Pradesh, send a note verbal of protest. Why can't we say clearly that the Dalai Lama, even in his capacity as a spiritual leader, represents an ancient and civilizational institution? And in that capacity, the Dalai Lama is perfectly within his rights to choose a successor.
So in any such case where there is a controversy, there is a situation where the Tibetan faith residing outside the Chinese or a Tibetan territory and globally making their voice heard, what role India can play and how India can coordinate with the other global powers, be it United States or be the Western Bloc, to help the cause of Dalai Lama and his followers?
I don't believe that India can play an interventionist role in China. But the very fact that we have given refuge to Dalai Lama, encouraged him as a spiritual leader to by now acquire a global following, in no way hindered his growing recognition as one of the tallest spiritual leaders of an exiled community based in India, but essentially drawing its cultural inspiration from an ancient civilization that is Tibet. I think that is enough for India to do. But India should not dilute its stand in these matters any further, irrespective of Chinese pressure.
You think that we would be able to stand, because as you mentioned about the real politic, many people in India think that the real politic requires to have a better relation with China. But do you think that these are the red lines which India should adhere to, and we should not make any compromise on these issues?
I don't believe we should make it. I don't believe we have made a compromise, except the initial where we so readily perhaps acquiesced in or accepted Chinese military conquest of Tibet, where thousands died in protest. We should have always considered, in my view, Tibet to be a disputed area. And not having done so, now to dilute the institution of the Dalai Lama would be the right policy for us. We must strengthen that institution. And the very fact that the leader of universally recognized leader of the Tibetans people says that his successor would be someone from a free nation, a democratic nation, is in itself sufficient indictment of China.
You're absolutely right, sir. This is a big statement which came from Dalai Lama. Thank you very much for helping our viewers understand the nuances of this statement coming from Dalai Lama himself, and he has given a vision, the process, how his reincarnation will be selected, and no role can there be for the Chinese government or Beijing to play as far as the spiritual matters are concerned. Thank you very much for your time, Ambassador Varma.
Thank you. Thank you very much.